All right, let's get right into it. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're tackling a word that carries a whole lot of heavy baggage: laziness. We've all used it, right? We've all felt it. But today, we are completely dismantling it. We're going to look at why you aren't actually just lazy, and more importantly, how you can structurally reclaim your productivity using real science and psychology. So mentally grab a notebook because we are building a brand new framework for how you look at your own motivation.
So, answer this honestly in your head for a second. Are you really just lazy? It is so incredibly easy to slap that label on ourselves when we just can't seem to get off the couch. But what if those frequent lazy days are actually a disguise? What if they're masking something much deeper, like, say, severe fatigue, heavy brain fog, or just an overwhelming lack of motivation? Getting to the actual root cause of how you're feeling is absolutely crucial here. It's step one.
Here is our roadmap for This Explainer. We're going to start with the myth of laziness, dig into the root causes of inaction, and then build your action plan by shifting your mindset, planning for success, and hacking your habits. It's a full toolkit. Starting off with Section 1, the myth of laziness. Now, let's be real and have a little empathy first. Taking an occasional lazy day in our hyper-connected, always-on world, that's completely fine. Actually, scratch that. It's totally necessary for our well-being. But there's a tipping point. Frequent lazy days might actually be signaling some underlying issues. If getting things done has become a chronic, everyday struggle, that's a symptom. It could be a sign that your massive to-do list is literally paralyzing you. It might be a total lack of passion for your job. Or it could even be a medical condition messing with your drive. We really need to stop calling this a character flaw and start treating it like a check engine light for our bodies. Which brings us to Section 2, the root causes of inaction. Why do we stall out? Let's peel back the layers a bit. One of the biggest villains in this whole story is burnout. Setting totally unrealistic goals and taking on way too much, that doesn't magically motivate us. It leads straight to profound exhaustion. Medical professionals absolutely recognize the symptoms of job burnout. It strips away your interest and leaves you with this desperate, overwhelming urge to just escape your responsibilities. So if you're trying to do everything perfectly all at once, you aren't being lazy when you finally crash. You are burning out. And speaking of doing things perfectly, perfectionism is literally on the rise, and it's taking a massive psychological toll on us. There was this fascinating study from 2017 that looked at college students over a huge chunk of time, from 1989 all the way to 2016. And the data was incredibly clear. Perfectionism spiked significantly over those years. The researchers dropped this brilliant insight. They noted that young people are now facing more competitive environments, more unrealistic expectations, and more anxious and controlling parents than generations before. That is a heavy diagnosis of our modern culture, right? This sharp rise in perfectionism is making people overly, intensely critical of themselves. And the tragic result? It's directly driving up rates of depression and anxiety. So, how does this perfectionism actually dictate our day-to-day behavior? Well, another study found that expecting perfection is directly linked to something called avoidant coping. This is wild. Avoidant coping means that instead of tackling a stressor, you literally just avoid dealing with it altogether. When the bar is set impossibly high, your brain just decides, hey, it's safer to not try at all. Let me reiterate, this is not laziness. It is a protective biological mechanism against the crushing weight of having to be perfect. All right, Section 3, shifting your mindset. It's time to change the internal dialogue. The fix really has to start internally. Negative self-talk, telling yourself, I'm a lazy person, or there's no way I can get this done, it completely derails your efforts. It slams the door shut before you even take a single step. But swapping that out for something like, I'll give it my all to make it happen, completely reopens that door. You can actively shut down that inner critic by consciously practicing positive self-talk. It gives you the power to take that super critical first step. And beyond that, you've got to lean into what you're already good at. When you're staring down a really tough task, take a quick second to think about your unique strengths. How can you apply those specific strengths to different parts of the job? The research backs this up for sure. It shows that focusing on your strengths actively boosts your productivity, increases your positive feelings, and drives a much deeper engagement with whatever you're working on.
Hand in hand with playing to your strengths is recognizing your wins. I highly, highly encourage getting into the habit of writing down your accomplishments as you go. Whether it's a big win at work or just finally organizing the garage at home, patting yourself on the back is absolutely essential. It's not arrogant at all. It's an incredibly effective way to build confidence and positivity. It's literally the fuel you need to stay motivated when things get rough. Moving on to Section 4. Planning for success. Let's create an actual action plan. Because look, mindset is critical, but without a real strategy, it's just wishful thinking. Creating an action plan is all about breaking things down realistically. Step 1, estimate the time. Step 2, gauge the effort required. And step 3, assess any other factors you need to hit your goal. This structured plan gives you a clear sense of direction. It gives you this anchor of confidence, even if you stumble over a hurdle later on. Having a map makes it infinitely easier to actually reach the destination. And hey, remember our villain from earlier, burnout? If we want to dodge it, we have to stop overloading our schedules. The ultimate antidote is setting smaller, highly attainable goals. These micro goals will get you exactly where you want to go, but without the crushing overwhelm along the way. Remember, progress is still progress, no matter how tiny the steps are.
Now, let's shatter a massive myth right now. A lot of people think asking for help is a sign of weakness. But check this out. Data from a 2018 study found that folks who refused to ask coworkers for help were actually more likely to be dissatisfied with their jobs, they had lower performance levels, and get this, they were perceived less favorably by their employers. On the flip side, asking for help actually improves your chances of success and builds connections with people who can motivate you. Asking for help isn't weak, it's a flat-out strategic advantage. Finally, Section 5, hacking your habits. Let's look at some practical tips. So you've got the mindset, you've got the plan. How do you actually maintain this productivity when you're swimming in a sea of distractions? First off, make those distractions way less accessible. Go work in a quiet place like a library or a totally empty room. Use one of those brutal blocker apps to cut off the websites you always mindlessly scroll. Next, look, we all avoid boring jobs, so gamify them. Chores like scrubbing the bathroom are never going to be a thrill ride, but you can throw on a great podcast or blast some music. Put on a fitness tracker and see how many calories you can burn or steps you can rack up while doing laundry. If you change the context, you change the whole experience. And lastly, you've got to recognize how you're wired. For some people, just finishing the job is reward enough. But let's be honest, a lot of us are deeply driven by external rewards. If simply crossing a task off your list isn't doing it for you, focus on what you're going to gain from it. Focus on how this annoying task gets you one step closer to a promotion. Or deliberately set up a reward for yourself. Celebrate finishing a huge project with a night out, or invite some friends over for drinks after a grueling weekend of cleaning. Give your brain a very tangible, real-world reason to cross that finish line. So I want to leave you with this final, provocative question to think about. What small goal will you set today, and exactly how are you going to reward yourself for crushing it? I challenge you to completely drop the lazy label right now. You know the root causes. You know why positive self-talk and asking for help are so vital. So pick just one small, attainable goal from your list today, put this action plan to work, and go earn that reward. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.